Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey everybody, thanks for downloading the show. My first guest hasn't been on the show in a couple of years, but I'm really excited to talk to him. Not only is he a great stand-up comedian, but he's also written for a lot of your favorite comedians and TV shows. He's the host of the Road Stories podcast. It's Murky Valerian. How you doing?
Hey, thanks. One of my two aliases. I love it.
I mispronounced your name. It's Murphy Volcano.
Yeah. Murphy Volcano, according to my subscription to Rolling Stone magazine for 15 years.
No, it's the wonderful comedian Murray Valeriano. How you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing really good. I was thinking about your name while we're on the subject. I'm a big fan of the Impractical Jokers show. For anybody listening who doesn't know the show, it's four friends named Joe, Brian, Sal, and Murray who go around pulling pranks. I think you should do a comedy tour with three comedians named Joe, Sal, and Brian and just call it the Impractical Comedians Tour.
So, Impractical Jokers, I got it. You know what's the kind of the running theme about the Impractical Jokers in my life, which they have no idea, is every generation, every decade of television has a Murray in it. So there was Murray from Mary Tyler Moore in the 60s. There was Murray the Cop from Odd Couple in 70s. There was Murray Basinski from Riptide in the 80s. There was Murray the Dog on Mad About You in the 90s. There's Murray the Agent from Flight of Conchords in the aughts, and now there's a Murray on Impractical Jokers.
The name is timeless.
Yes, something only a dude named Murray would notice.
And speaking of timeless, you've been doing stand-up for a long time. How long has it been now?
Timeless. I've been in comedy through writing and performing for 20 years now.
What made you decide this is something that you want to do? A lot of people try it. A lot of people just dabble and they go in and out for a few years, but this is something that's really stuck with you.
Yeah, well, I didn't really, a lot of people want to do it and they try it at like 20 and then 21 and then get, really frustrated and bail out. I didn't get the nerve to do it until I was 28. So I started very late in the game.
You have a podcast called the Road Stories podcast. What's your favorite story from touring?
My favorite or one that has been told on the show?
Whichever one's better.
I like the way you think. Well, when you're talking about road stories and that subject matter, the best stories have, so you have the best story genre, but then you have the subcategories of, craziest heckler or, most emotional moment or worst air trip or worst condo. So there's subgenres. So pick one of those.
Okay, we'll go with the most emotional moment on stage.
The most emotional? Well, I have to say, I use my show to prop up my guests. That's really my show. I let them come on there and shine, and I just drive the truck. But I have to say, this story goes to me, and it just happened to me 2 weeks ago. Not even a week ago. Oh my God, a week ago to the day, as a matter of fact. 2 months ago, I had open heart surgery, and I did my first headlining gig last Friday in, 2 months. And I opened up with all this heart surgery material, and I was really nervous about it. And then a woman came up to me after the show and said, anybody who can make open heart surgery funny is a blank and great comedian. And that just made it all worth it for me right there.
Yeah, that's a high compliment.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't one that you were expecting. That's very nice of her.
No, I wasn't expecting that at all. I was just glad that these jokes worked. Comedian first. I dodged death, but I just want to make sure these jokes work.
And that's a pretty quick turnaround on your jokes too, to get them to hit that hard.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was jotting them down in the last 8 weeks, just kind of getting different ideas and stuff as I was recovering. So it wasn't like I just whipped them up off the top of my head. I wish I could do that.
We're going to do a 180. You can't do comedy long without being heckled on stage.
Sure.
So what is your best heckling story?
Myself?
Yeah.
There rarely are there the when people think hecklers, they think somebody yell out, "You suck." But that is rarely what a heckler does. A heckler is usually somebody who thinks that it's just okay to yell at the stage.
Well, they're trying to help
it's just okay to be involved. Yeah, because they're trying to help. It doesn't matter that the comedian's been doing this for 20 years and has worked this all out. He can't do it himself. He needs help. So there's there's kind of a subgenre of heckles. I'm sorry I'm breaking this down into the school curriculum. I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
But there's the supportive hecklers. I remember one time this didn't happen to me, but I was watching my friend on stage, and every time he hit a punchline, everybody would laugh. And as soon as the laughter died down, one guy would just go, "That'll work." After every joke. That'll work for 10 minutes. And then my buddy's like, "Dude, thanks, but you got to shut up."
Oh, my God. I have no idea what he was even trying to accomplish with that one.
I don't know. Maybe the guy's afraid of laughing. I don't know. But, you sometimes, I've been doing a lot of, I don't want to say audience participation, but I've been involving the audience a little bit more. And you really run the risk of giving the audience the okay to talk. Mm-hmm. I always say comedians want the audience to talk just enough to give us material to riff for 10 minutes and then be quiet for the rest of the show. But they don't know that. So you can't get mad at them if you talk to them. So I had somebody that same night, my first night back, this 23-year-old girl, just millennial, who I commented on her because she was sitting there with her arms folded and not smiling for the first 20 minutes. Apparently the only person who didn't like my open heart surgery material. And so I had to call her out on it, and then she wouldn't shut up.
Oh, man.
And so then I had to, you want to, and plus you don't want to, you ever see the movie Roadhouse?
Yeah.
All right, there's that great line in Roadhouse by Patrick Swayze's character when he says, when you're a bouncer, be nice until it's time to not be nice. And that's how I feel with hecklers, You just be nice, you make fun of it, you let everybody laugh. Sometimes you even try to give them the out. And then if that doesn't shut them down, then you turn on them and then you do it. It happened to me last year at the All Things Comedy Festival in Tempe, Arizona. I did a joke about stay-at-home moms versus stay-at-home dads. And apparently this really offended the guy. And he's like, and he calls out and he's like, "You can't talk about." Now keep in mind, I was a stay-at-home dad for 10 months before I did this joke. So
you have experience.
I know what I'm talking about. And he's like, "You can't talk about stay-at-home moms, and you need to do this, and you need to do that." And started yelling at me. And this is a highly Latino crowd. And so I said, "Whoa, man, you're talking like you're the Mexican Dr. Phil over here giving advice." And I got a big laugh, and I started riffing on the Dr. Phil or whatever. And usually that's enough to get him to be quiet. But this guy was like, "I didn't come here to hear you talk about that." So now it's in the not be nice mode. You know what I mean? It's gone up to a next level. So I said, "I don't know what you came here to hear me talk about, but 300 people didn't come here to hear you talk. So shut up." And that just brought the house down, and then he got escorted out.
Oh, so you had Dr. Phil canceled, huh?
I did. That's right. Where's your Oprah now?
I was wearing my Road Stories podcast t-shirt the other day, which has the name of the podcast on it and your name underneath it, which is a great quality shirt, by the way. It's very
Thank you.
comfortable.
Thanks for wearing it.
I stopped to get gas. It's about 1 or 2 p.m. And a guy who was drunk across the aisle on the passenger side of the car, thankfully, said, "Hey, you got stories?" And he's all smiles. I didn't know what to do. I just smiled, pointed, and nodded.
Nice. My shirt is causing as much controversy as Make America Great Again hat. This is amazing.
I thought, man, even his shirt's getting heckled. But you're right. There are degrees of hecklers, and he's just trying to start a conversation. It's not always, "Hey, you suck."
Yeah, and we don't meet enough drunk people at a gas station, so it's building bridges. That shirt.
That is true.
That's so funny when you texted me that the other day or emailed me that the other day. That was so funny.
I definitely wasn't expecting it. It just kind of came out of the blue. I didn't even know he was talking to me at first.
It's a weird thing commenting on shirts. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Primus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, their kind of slogan and catchphrase is Primus sucks.
Uh-huh.
That's just kind of what they always, said about themselves and all that. And I saw some, I guess, partial fan a couple of years ago of a Primus shirt. They said, "Oh man, Primus sucks." He's like, "F you, they're a great band." They like charged me, so I try not to comment on T-shirts anymore.
I actually saw them at a festival one year that was headlined by Neil Young, which is
oh wow, what a great
strange
festival!
Yeah.
What festival was that?
I think it was called the Horde Festival.
Okay.
And if I remember, her time's kind of passed, but it was back in the day when Jewel was just starting to get her music out there, and she was playing in the grass off to the side.
Oh. So. She was moved up to a nicer van.
Yeah.
Jewel lived in a van. That was her story, in case your listeners don't know. Okay.
Well,
Neil Young. Are you a Neil Young fan? Is that why you went to see him?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of his benefit he does every year, the Bridge School benefit?
No.
Up in Northern California. It's, I guess, one of his sons is severely special needs and went or is still going to the school called Bridge School. And he does this huge music benefit up there every October and November. And everybody, Pearl Jam, Bruce Springsteen, everybody's played it.
Wow.
And it's one of my I don't use the phrase bucket list much, but one of my bucket list things to do is to go to that benefit.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you're Neil Young, I guess you can get those kinds of people.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Well, in my mind, you are one of the kings of podcasting.
Oh, thank you.
I thought I was hardcore after doing a podcast with Karen Rontowski right after I got a concussion. But you did a podcast with Graham Elwood within hours of having open heart surgery. That's pretty amazing.
First of all, let me say this. I love Karen Rontowski.
Oh, she's the best.
Moving on. Yeah, isn't she great? She's going to be on my podcast again within the next couple of weeks. I just talked to her. Yeah. I did 2 podcasts in the ICU.
Oh, really? What was the second one?
The first one I did was a short blip for his podcast, Comedy Film Nerds. And that the one you heard?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the one. Okay. Yeah. That was literally, you know what? I take it back. We did 2, but one screwed up. So we weren't able to air it. So I did another one the first day I came home.
Okay.
So we did 2, but only one aired. I'm sorry. I don't want to make myself sound that great. But yeah, I went back and listened to it after I was still anesthesia, still had half my body numb. I was whacked out on, I don't know how many milligrams of Oxycontin, literally hours after they had stopped my heart for 4 hours. And Graham, who, God bless him, what a great guy, great comedian. Look him up. Graham Elwood has become one of my closest friends. Came to visit me like almost every day in the ICU. And I wake up and like I could barely see anything. And I look out the window into the hallway and this head goes bopping by and I thought I was hallucinating. I'm like, what's Graham? Graham? I must be, he showed up, walked in and sat by my side for a couple hours and kind of talked to me and then said, hey, let's record some podcasts. And I'm like, let's do it.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk bad about that guy. It's always positive. So that's
yeah. Really nice. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm telling you, he came by almost every day. And the days he couldn't come by, he sent me a huge apologetic text. So yeah, he's a good guy. And that was, I don't know if I've never really been this way where I've never been under anesthesia before. I've never been in a hospital in my life before this whole incident. Your brain doesn't really wake up for like 24 hours or so, or at least mine didn't. So the combination of all that, I'm just babbling on this guy's podcast. I went back and listened to it. It made 0 sense. But he had dropped that podcast that night, and after he left, I ended up just crashing and really feeling the effects of open heart surgery that night. So I woke up the next morning to all these tweets about I heard you on Comedy Film Nerds, glad you're doing all right. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? I didn't really remember at first.
I can imagine that because in the state you're in, it has to almost just seem like a dream more than anything. Yeah,
it does. I tried to really document it because, a very small percentage of people will ever have open heart surgery, and God willing, I'll never be there again. But so I took selfies and of like the tubes in my chest. I made my wife take a picture of me being rolled out of surgery while I was still out under anesthesia. And I will happily show them to you at any party we go to.
That's
It was really like, oh, Murray, I heard you had open heart surgery. Yeah, you want to see gross pictures? Like that's a
good conversation starter and a good conversation stopper.
Yeah, it kind of does the same thing all at once. But it's not a morbid thing. I like, because, I was just talking about my memory and everything. Like I was just taking pictures of everything to try so I could remember it, so I could remember the situation and stuff. And of course, to have conversation stoppers at parties.
Well, one thing I really like about your podcast is it always introduces me to a side of your guests that I didn't really know before. I've always been a fan of Chris Porter. I think he's hilarious.
Chris is great.
And he was a guest on your podcast, and I was actually, that night that I heard it, I was just leaving an open mic in Fairborn, and I heard Chris on your show, and he breaks out his guitar and just starts singing. And I never knew that he had that side in him. And man, he's a really good singer and a guitarist too.
He is, man. And he made me sing with him. And I'm a good guitar player. I'm not a good singer. Yeah, I'd rather go up in front of 400 people with no material plan than sing in front of 2 people. But no, that was one of my favorite episodes. Thank you so much. I've been wanting Chris to come back, but he's so busy touring right now. I think he's working on a new special.
I think that was the last open mic I ever did was that night. But
oh, really?
I got more memories of that podcast than the show. But speaking,
I'm glad you can get a positive thing out of that experience. For a guy who did a ton of open mics like I did, they are not fun.
I would like to hear you do a special episode with other comedian podcasters called Pod Stories, where you just tell crazy stories from podcasts that you guys have done, because I don't think people realize how many behind the scenes crazy things happen just doing a podcast.
That's a great idea, man. That is a really good idea. I'm going to do that.
That would,
especially with the, the upswing of all the podcast festivals now. Mm-hmm. Bill Burr and Al Madrigal started the All Things Comedy Festival. So yeah, there's a bunch of great stories. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that in the works, man. Thanks. I'm always welcoming new topics. So if anybody have any ideas, reach out. I'd love to do them if they're good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that, because like you said, there's so many podcasts out there and there's so many great comedians doing it. There's got to be a million of them.
Absolutely.
Everybody should check out Murray's podcast, Road Stories. It's on the All Things Comedy Network. A good first episode to check out would be the one from just about a month ago with friend of the show, Mike Furman, who's going to be on here in about 2 weeks, depending when you.
Oh, Furman's going to be on?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I just interrupted your plug. That's one of my favorite episodes also. Have you noticed my favorite episodes have to deal with guitars? I just realized.
I was starting to realize the trend, and I was thinking all the questions I've asked him about the musical episodes. Because
all good comedians secretly want to be rock stars. I think that's well known.
I was really surprised on that same episode, Karen Kilgariff was on there. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, what a great singer. I mean, I was really blown away by her.
Yeah, that girl's crazy talented. She's a hilarious comedian. She's a great writer. She's an excellent podcaster. She's a great songwriter. She can sing. It's ridiculous.
Speaking of songwriters, a listener made a song for you. Do you want to hear it?
For me?
Just for you.
Yes, I think, unless that listener is my ex-girlfriend. I don't know.
It might not be much better, Murray.
Oh, no.
Here he comes, he's back in town. It's the greatest comedian around, because Murray is back in town. And he'll wear a crown and beat up a clown if he or she wears a gown. So be sure to give him a woo and not give him a boo, or else he'll give you the flu. And you know that will make you do number 2.
Do you want me to send that to you so you can use it as a ringtone?
Thanks. It brings back a lot of memories.
I want to thank John the Songman for making that. It's always something entertaining from him.
I love it. That's funny.
Before you go, is there anything you'd like to promote?
Well, I wish I was. I might be coming to Pennsylvania in September. Right? That's where you're out of, Pennsylvania, right?
Right next door. We're in Ohio.
Oh, that's right, Ohio. Sorry, I'm not coming to Ohio. So why did I think I always thought you were Pennsylvania? I apologize. So never mind. But
Murray
East
V on
Coast,
Twitter.
East Coast wise, I'm in the process of possibly being at Helium in Philly, and Catch a Rising Star in Jersey in the fall. So look for that. And at Twitter at Murray V, MURRAYV, and Instagram Murray V Comedy.
All right. Well, thanks again for being on the show. It was a lot of fun.
Always fun talking to you.
I'm going to play a quick song, and I'll be back.
Here we are, king-size bed, duvet made of down, and the kids are out of town. Oh yeah, baby, tonight we are gonna do nothing. Sleep all night long. Gonna sleep till it's time for brunch. You and me beneath the covers, with nothing going on. Oh, I see that look in your eyes, the one that says I'm barely retaining consciousness. Whoa, baby, don't just jump in with no preparation. You gotta put in your dental nightgown. Oh yeah, that's it. You look like a chipmunk ready to hunt. It's time for sleep, slumber, torpor, dormancy. Baby, do you like it when I talk sleepy to you? Baby, 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 we're gonna sleep all night long till the garbage truck wakes us up. You and me beneath the covers, nothing going on. Oh, baby, you're lying there like a sack of potatoes made out of lead. Your head is back and your mouth is open. And you got that nose whistle thing going on. Oh, yeah. What's that, baby? Can I shut the hell up and let you get back to sleep? Oh, baby, you know I can. You know I can. Baby, baby, we're gonna sleep all night long. I'm gonna sleep till I have to pee. You and me beneath the covers, with nothing.
I was going to have another guest on, but things happen. Next week, I'll be joined by the most frequent guest in the We Don't Have Cookies history. She was on the very first episode of the podcast and will be my last guest before the huge 3-year anniversary episode. It's comedian Mama Kate. Speaking of the 3-year anniversary episode, that will be on Monday, July 30th, which is the exact date the podcast launched. I'll be having a lot of people on that episode. Between the guests and the clips from the past guests and contributors to the podcast, there will be about 20 people. It's going to be the biggest episode of the year, probably the biggest episode that I've ever done. Things can always change, but as of right now, the guests will be Rhoda Young, Kenny Bolin, Father Time, John the Songman, Karen Rontowski, a few new segment contributors, and a lot of clips from the We Don't Have Cookies family and some of my favorite former guests. Recording and organizing all that is a lot to do, so I'm going to be moving the Cookie Palooza episode that was going to be out that same week to the week after the anniversary episode. That will be with the musical contributors to the podcast. I'll be talking to Mike Furman, Trevor Strong, and hopefully a few others who I haven't started playing songs from yet, so that should be fun. That's it for me this week. I'll be back next Wednesday with Mama Kate.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review. See you next time.
That'll work.